Hello, good morning. This is William, and it's, as Joan mentioned, it's the fourth session in the series. This is a WebEx session. It will last less than an hour. Today we are going to talk about visual process flows. This was first introduced in the 2012 version, and there was a significant update in the 2014 version. What we are going to be showing today is based on 2016, but there was no new changes from 2014. So if you have 2014, all the features we talk about here will be applied. Again, I am William Wingson, and I'll be leading the discussion on, well, visual workflow. Today we are going to cover what's a visual workflow process, or the visual process flows, what is the benefit. We're going to show you some predefined process flows, and the most important, creating your own process flows. So the learning objective is, what we'll cover is how to create a new process flow, how to link to non-Sage products, how to link to a website, how to link to a report, how to link to other visual process flows, how to add a logo, how to add tooltips, and so basically how to customize your Sage desktop so that it's really interactive in terms of it is a flow, and how will this benefit you? This is one of, I think, one of the underused features of Sage 300. Often I hear people talking about, oh, there's so many on the tree, there's so many things, we don't use half of it. I don't understand why there is a batch list and then there is a batch. So sometimes, and it creates confusion. So let's get started right away, and I will close the PowerPoint for now and go directly to the product itself. Let me just click that again. What you see here is I have started customizing a visual workflow process. So this is something that you are entitled to at the bottom of when you, I do have some other things inside here. Usually at the end here of the menu, you have some standard processes that come with the system, AP, AR, depending on what you have. So this is just another way of accessing screens, things that you already use. But for a new person, this would be very helpful, because if I present somebody with create vendor invoices versus if I go up here to, let's say, accounts payable, and I go to AP transactions, and I see here batch list invoice entry. For some people, it's a little bit difficult to understand, well, why is there two? Should I be operating from this screen? Okay, oops. Should I just create new, or should I be entering stuff from this screen here? So if you use the visual workflow process, it takes out some of the ambiguity for new users. So if you have to enter a vendor invoice, you just click on this, and automatically that exact same screen is going to open up. Okay, it's right down here at the bottom. I probably clicked on it twice. So you see, you do this, it's the same data entry. Okay, now if you notice, we can do certain things here. So this is expanded. If I click on it, I could reduce it. But here, if I wanted to click on reports, if I wanted to print the batch list report, again, the batch list report is going to open up and I can print it. Okay, so you can see all the, you can create functions, or it's a bit easier to use. Now, if you were to, if you want to reduce the confusion, you can even drag this to the here, so that when the user log in, this is all they would see. they will not see the tree menu. It's there, all you have to do is drag it back and you would see it, right? But for a new user, this becomes how they access the screens in Sage 300. Now, given standard visual processes is not exactly the best use of it. The best use of this is we have created some processes based on roles. For example, if I had a supervisor, what does the supervisor do? Well, if it's a sales supervisor, he might be looking at sales reports, he might be looking at AR, he might be looking at order entry. So I can put all those things on one screen and call it sales supervisor. He might also be looking at payroll because he might have to approve, he or she might have to approve time cards for various people under his or her authority. So having to go to different screens, it might just be make it a little more difficult. So to make it easier, we can add everything on one screen. So I'm just going to close off this for now. Close this, and I'm going to show you what I've started here. I call it the year-end process. Again, if you wanted to edit this, so to create one, you have to start with an existing process. Okay, so these ones that come with the system, if I were to open this up, for example, right, and I right-click here, and I click on Edit, right. So these are standard ones that come with the system. Notice that for this one here, you cannot, you would have to save it as something else. You can't save, you can't override the template. Okay, so if I say save as, okay, and I give it another name now, automatically it will go into a place called Process Flows ENG. Okay, and the file would be have an extension PFC. The templates have an extension PFX. So those ones, you cannot override them or save on top of them. Okay, that's just when people modify things so that they can always get back to the original. So let's say I wanted to create something and I give it a name. Let's call it training. Okay. So now what I can do is I can go ahead now and customize anything that I want to. Let's move these out of the way a little bit here. I can go ahead and now customize this screen to make it anything that I wanted to do. I could, as we'll see, we can link it to non-Sage products. We can create anything we want. Now, if I wanted to modify the name, let's say I wanted to change this, I can call it, let's say, training flow. Right. I can get rid of this transaction. I just have to cut it like this. Gone. Okay, so I'm starting to modify this screen. Now, if you want to test it, if you wanted to change some of these icons here, we will change them later. What you would have to do is you would have to save it. Okay, so the first point I want to make is that if you want to customize or to create your own, you have to start with an existing one. Okay, that's the first thing. I saved it and now I close this. Okay, now if I go back here under Visual Workflow Process down at the end, let me just minimize these. Where did it go to? Okay, Okay, so what I have to do is I have to assign this right to someone else. So what I'll do is I'll go into assign visual workflow process, and I'll select the admin. And I see down here I would select customize or training, and then I hit save and close. Okay, so now I should see it down at the end here. Now I don't know, this hasn't happened before, so right now I don't see it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to refresh this company, Sample Company Limited, just refresh it again. Oh, I have to put in a password. Okay, so it came back here. So now, if I scroll down to the bottom here, I see my year end, but I also see the training. So once, if you create something new, or a new one, you have to be aware that it mightn't show up until you go to the administrative services and assign that process to someone else or to some user, right? So it's under assign visual workflow process, and all you have to do is select the user and then check it off if you want to give them access to it. So the 2 points I've made so far, number one, is if you want to create a new one, you have to start with an existing process. Two, once you have started creating one, if you want to give somebody rights to see it, you would have to go under administrative services, assign visual processes, and assign that to that particular person. Okay, so until you finish, you can just leave it hidden until you're ready to, or only assign it to the administrator until you're ready to show it to other people. So in this particular case, what I did was I added a logo to the flow here, and I also put a tooltip. So if I hover over it, you'll see there's some information inside here. Contact Joan if you want any support. Just like up here, use this process. So I am explaining this to someone. If they had any questions, you can put some help in that. So how do you, first of all, let's go and see how you add a logo. So if you were to add a logo, you would have to put the logo in one of the libraries. Okay? So the question is, where are the libraries located? So if I go inside here, I would go to in my particular case, I go to my C drive, I go to Sage, and this part, it's a little bit difficult to get to, simply because if you notice the number of clicks I'm clicking on here, right, it's just, I mean, once I show you where to go, flowcharting, right, so we'll give you instructions on how to get here, Sage Libraries, Basic, and finally, we are now in the libraries where you can add a logo, for instance, right? So this is where I added, I could add a JPEG file, I could add a PNG file, okay? So whatever form your logo is in, you could add it here, okay? So the main thing is you have to add it to the library, and again, it's not that difficult, it's just copying it inside here. The other thing you have to do is you have to go and modify this a little bit. So what I had to do here was, all I had to do is added this piece here, right? So again, if you have instructions on how to do that, it's pretty easy. So it's just copying a logo somewhere. It's putting in just a comma and just typing this in, right? So all you really have to do is this name here. This was the name of the file. And then I just copy the format, and then I have it added to the library. So what that would do is when I go inside here, if I click on modify this, edit, and if you see down here, if I wanted to add that, now if I click on logos, main, I can see here now And I can take this logo here, and now it's shown up here, and I can shrink this, make it smaller, etc. Okay, so now it's a little bit of an artwork. I have to move things out of the way, right? And I can now shrink it, make it smaller. And one of the things is getting these things out of the way so that if you have a nice big screen, it makes it easier, of course, etc. So right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this off. Right. So cut. Like this, and cut it back off. So that's how I added this object up here. I might have done something to this one here. I don't know what this. Might have added, cut that out. I don't need it. Okay. So what I'm going to do is, just because I don't want to, I'm just going to close out without.
Yeah, it's okay. What, no, it's just a webinar with that.
Oh, no issue.
Okay. Yeah, this is too much fun.
They know?
Okay. Yeah, this is a good one, this one.
So again, what I've done, how do you create a new one? You start with an existing visual process flow. Then the next thing is you have to, once you create a new one, you save it as something else, you start making changes. You have to remember that nobody's going to see it until you assign that to someone. Where do you go and assign it? In administrative services, there's a function in there to assign visual workflow process. The next thing is, if you wanted to add your own images, you would have to add it to a library. Okay? The library, it's a little bit difficult to get to because it's like 15 clicks, but again, it's just a matter of knowing where it is. So it's located wherever your product is installed, right? It's located under programs, under the runtime, right? And in there you would see something called VPF, which means Visual Process Flows. And once you start off in this direction, it becomes pretty easy. You go to flow charting, X, and just go to the Sage libraries. And inside here, you would see all the different visual things that you're going to be using, whether it's buttons, right, or whether it's, if I go to, if I want to add different backgrounds, and let's say there are different backgrounds you can add. I have added this one here, right, and I've added this one here also. So you can add different images to suit whatever you want. You could add a picture of the company building or whatever you want. So you can add those things to the library. Once you add it to the library, when you go to edit it, right, you see down here, if you want to look at the different backgrounds, for instance, if I go to, let's say, miscellaneous, I can see it here. So this was Vancouver, this was the one I added. If you click on it, now add it to here, and then you have to move it around, make sure it's transparent, bring it back, etc. So there's a little bit of artwork involved. So we can add our images now. The next thing is, here I have a link to Excel. Okay, so to show that, I would have to close this out just to show it. So I'm going to close out of the edit mode. Unfortunately, you can't test anything if you're in the edit mode. Okay, so if I go here, I'm just going to show you these things. If I click on this, it links to Excel. So double click, Excel will now open up, right? So I could link to any other product. This is similar to what we can do on the desktop. But if you had a process that involved some other program, for example, so you see Excel is open. Okay, cancel. I'm going to activate that now. I'm using an image. I'm using an image, so that's why that is not proper. So you can access any other program as long as it's an .exe file. So if you, some people have different manufacturing systems. you can access it from here. Okay? If you wanted to access the website too, if I click on this, it'll open up and it will access the website. So if you need to get to a website of some kind, you can open it up. Okay? So, right? Now, the other thing is, if you wanted to build other processes, so let's say all I want to do is, let's say I have a clerk who does, let's say, the sales portion. So I want them to link to the accounts receivable transaction, or I want them to link to order entry, right? And I already have processes built. So in this particular case, when I click on it, it will open up the AP transaction. So when I click on this, and you notice I put in my own logo, I'll show you how to do that in a short while. The AP process flow open up. So you can create many different process flows and then have one master process flow which links to all of them. Okay, so I could link to another visual process flow. Sometimes people have third-party products. For example, Tyrox, for example, they have what they call enhanced screens. So it gets rather confusing. Should I be using this, or should I be using the one up here? So if you want to avoid that confusion, again, what you can do is you can link, right? When it opens up, I could just create it. Instead of using this up here, I can click on this, and will open up the screen, the order entry screen. So I no longer have to worry about, oh, are people using the Tyrox order entry screen? Of course, I have to be careful about how many times I click on it. Sometimes I'm a little bit impatient. Okay, so here it will open up the order entry screen. We just close one down, close that. Okay, so here is the Tyrox order entry screen. They have a smart finder. So if I type in anything like black tab, right? Well, I have to see there's somebody inside there. So there is, and you can see there's different, it's a different screen. It's hard to see the difference because they use most of the standard screen, but there's some additional things down here that you will not have on a normal screen. So you can link to somewhere else. You can link to a report also. So in this particular case, I created a report called the top 25 customers. And am I being impatient? I clicked on it, and it seems that eventually something is going to happen, I guess. It was working. Okay. So what I will do is I will not, oh, there it goes. Let's say period 3. Let's say the year, this is sample data. And hit OK. So this is a report that was created, a crystal report, and it will eventually run off. Again, because I'm using a virtual image, it's a little bit slower. So eventually that would work. Yeah, there we go. And it will give me the top 25 customers or whatever I have inside here. Okay? So I've just shown you quickly what you can do. What I've done here is I was starting to build a report. So if you look here, I can collapse. I just wanted to show you that I can create this. If I click on this here, notice it disappears. So then I could build something a little bit, user-friendly. And if I click on it, minimize, so that only when I'm ready to use it, right, then I click on it, and I would see what the sub-menu is. So how difficult is it to create, let's say, something like this, for instance? So what I can do is I go into edit mode. I'll just show you that quickly. Okay. And I could use, I could just move this a little bit off. I could use a new button if I wanted to. If I click on this, here I would see the different buttons that I can use. Maybe mini icon. Let's see what we have inside here. Mini icon, let me expand that aqua. So I can use one of these if I wanted to. So all I would have to do is click on it like this, and it would show up. Where is it? If I move this out of the way, where did it go to? Oh, it's right here. I can make it bigger, right? Doesn't look very nice, too big because of the image, right? Okay, so that's step number one. I could use different buttons. Now, what I can do is I could link this. So I highlight it, click on link, right? And now I can link it to a function. I can link it to a program, right? So if I wanted to link it to Word or something like that, I click on programs, right? And now I have to browse to wherever my programs are installed. So in this PC, it might be under the C drive. If I can find that quickly. Program files, so maybe, let me just see if it's under here, Microsoft Office. And I'm looking for, let's do this. Oh, I should have done the extension so I can see my extensions. Oh, I do see it here. So if I find Word, which may be in alphabetical order, so let's see, or Outlook or whatever it is, or PowerPoint. Okay. So now, if I were to save this, let's say save and close. Save and close. There we go, finally. And if I were to click on this, Word will open up. So I quickly added a link onto that area there, and now you can see Word is opening up. I'm just going to cancel that. Okay, cancel. Of course, you have to be careful with double clicking. My bad habit. So I quickly added a link to another non-ACPAC program. Okay, so easy it was to do that. Again, you have to be in the edit mode, right? If I wanted to create, let's say, a link to, like I had before, a link to a, let's say, to a website, and I wanted to use something like this, like one of these icons, I'm happy with those. What I can do is select it, copy, paste, right here. So now there's two right here. So now I can drag this wherever I want, right? And then I could put a link to either a website or another visual process. So if I highlight it, create link, right? And what do you want to link it to? We could link it to a URL if it was a website. I could link it to, if I wanted to do another process, right? And then here I would select, now I have to find out where the other process is located, which would be, in my case, again, it's going to be under the C drive. It's going to be under Sage. Let's say under the, where is it? No, not share data. That is going to go up, go back. Under programs, template, ENG. So these ones here are the standard ones that come with the program, right? So if I were to link it to, let's say, AR here, okay, open up, or click open, and hit OK. So now I have linked this to another flow, visual flow. You can put text in here You can copy from, let's say, this. You can, again, do, let's say, copy, paste, just to speed things up a little bit. And now I have 2, and then I could drag this. Oops. Oops. See this. Copy and paste in the same spot. Now I have 2. It's a little bit of a challenge to sometimes drag them, okay? But it just, again, the more you practice, the easier it becomes. So it's a little bit of a, let's see, I'm dragging it all the way here.
Because you don't know what you're doing.
Sorry? Yeah. Oops. So here, and I could put this, let's say it was AR visual process flow. I'm just going to be short. Flow is that right? Okay. And if I want to just make, so there's a little bit of a, there is some time to be spent doing it, etc. And I can move this. Yeah. So I don't want to spend too much time just moving things around. Okay, now if I save this again, close it off. Come on. Now you can see, if I go back here, it's going to refresh in a while. Come on. Right, here we go. So if I were to click on this, it will link to this process here. So if I click on it, I hope I linked. Did I link? I think, yes. There we go. So it linked. I clicked on it, and it went to the receivable visual process flow. What I should do is I should add a button here so it goes back to, let's say, home, for example. Okay? So again, you can see within minutes, you can add something that looks, if I were to, yeah, something that, so you could add, like I said before, website, a report, anything like this. Now, what I want to show is the different activities that you can do. For example, here, you notice I have a tooltip, right? So the way that is done is when I go into my edit process here, right? Come on. I'm just going to move, every time I have to move these things out of the way. Right. Okay. Now, if I, what I can do is I can hit my A, but the button of the field so I can see this. Okay. Now, what this is saying is, what I can do is when I select it, like if I selected this text field, it's all numbered, right? So if you look here, this is number 64. So I said show as a tooltip. These are the options here, right? So when I click on 64, what is going to show up here is 65 and 66. 65 and 66 is the text plus the box. Okay? So that is how the tooltips are created. I would have to create a text file and type something in the box. Okay? And you can always copy, like if you want to create from scratch, you already have one. You can just copy it, paste, and then you have two, and then you have to drag one of them down to, let's say, this area here, right? And now you can change the text to whatever you want. Let's say this is a to AR visual process flow. Right? Okay. And now, if I would, there's another age thing here that I copied from up here. I should move that back up. So I accidentally moved that. Let me get here. Oops, moved the wrong one. Okay, now I'm really messing it up by not paying attention to the little details. So, okay, so this is what I want to show right now. So here, if I were to hit E, I select this, I would say I want to show this as a tooltip. Which one is 91? So one of them is 91. I would have to move this a little bit out of the way, move this down. I think so. I think this is 91. And then what I need to show here is, let me see if I can, this is 94 is the text. So 94. I hit OK. Okay, so again, what we have to do is save this, close out of this. It should have two numbers. It should have a box also. I could put like a white box behind it, right? Okay, oops, did the wrong one. So, okay, so it looks like I did it in reverse. It should be the other way around. Right. So there's a little bit of again, which number goes first. So what I did here, come on. Again, it's in the way, so I got to move this out of the way. This one here, I should have highlighted this one here. Hit, let's see, E. So I get the activity showing up here. And this is 91, and this is going to be 94. Tab. Hit OK. Okay, so let's see now. Save again. Close. Highlight it. Okay, so the button is there. And if I just hover over it, this should show up here. So I can put a white, oh, I just went back to, yeah. So I actually, it looked like I clicked on it. So it is doing two things. Let me just go back to this process here. Okay, so I should have moved this text a bit lower down. If I hover over it, you would see this. If I click on it, it will go to the other process. So you can see how I could create a tooltip. So to help people with instructions. Now I know this looks a bit messy just because I wanted to show you all the particular features. But in reality, what you can do is, again, you can create things by roles, by job roles. So for example, if you had a sales supervisor, as I mentioned early on, and that sales supervisor would need to see maybe some of the customers, they might want to see things in order entry, the invoices. Because they're a supervisor, they might want to look at the payroll, time cards, for example, to approve time cards, things like that. You can build that on one page. If there's other processes involved, let's say like year-end or something like this, where it involves many steps, instead of having like a big checklist, and sometimes you don't know where to find it, you can create a process and put it down here. So you can create like a year-end process, which I have linked to many different modules, okay, depending on all the modules you have. Or what you can do is you can have the month-end process. So anything like this, you want to make it easier for people to access. Again, if you don't want people to even be confused by the tree menu, all you have to do is drag this to the left. Once it's there, but what happens is most people don't even realize it's there. When they log in, this is what they will see. Okay? And this might have links to other visual process flows. Okay. So we can add our whatever logos that whatever menu buttons that we want. We could add different buttons. We could add text. We can add all kinds of things that would suit our needs to make the experience of using Sage 300 easier, and also to cut down on some of the possible mistakes. So this is commonly used for training, if you had new people coming on, just to make it easier for them. Also, if you have processes that are complex and you do it infrequently, this is also another thing that you can use. Okay. So what I will be doing now is I have covered what I intended to show you. I'll just quickly go over that. One is I showed you how to create a new process flow. You have to start with an existing one. Okay, so you highlight it, you edit it, and then you save it as something else. Okay, I showed you how to link to a non-Sage product, in this case Excel, and here I link to Word. I showed you how to link to a website. Okay, all you have to do is this link. Okay, I clicked on it so it opened it up. Okay, so if I were to, let me just minimize this for now. Okay, you could link to another visual process flow. So if you have ones built already and those are fine, you can link it to one of these. This one is linked to AP. If I click on it, it will open up the AP flow. So you can have like a cycle. You can build one here, then you can go into this and add, well, one like this. You can add the template. You can add another one and then hide it, and then you put a button back to the screen when they finish that process. So it's like a big flow chart, making it easier to get back and forth the different flows. I also mentioned you can link it to, well, this is a non-Sage product, but if you had screens, I just show it's very similar. So instead of confusing people, you could just put one screen that they use. This is linking to a report, a crystal report that I created. Okay, so that's another thing I showed you. I also showed you how to link to how to add a, let's say, your own logo to this. You can add your logo if you wanted to, and how to add a tooltip to this. And here you can just modify the tooltip for this process flow. Okay, so we did quite a bit today, and when you're doing it, it does take, like I said, it does take some time. The first time you're doing it, it's just getting used to the screens and moving them around. But if you ever did one, it's easy to do another one. And we can create these, we can give them to you, like, but you have to keep in mind that some of the images, right, when they are first created, they are located somewhere. So if you wanted to use some of the images, you would have to have access to those images, or we'll have to give you the images also. Okay, so what I will do now is let me just go back to my PowerPoint. Okay, so we got started, and now we can, oops, yeah. Now you can create a new flow. You can link to a non-Sage product. You can link to a website. You can link to a report. You can link to another visual flow, process flow. You can add your own logo if you wish, and you could add tooltips. Okay, so now I would open the floor to any questions.
I have a question from our chat group here. William, someone asked, can process be moved from one company to another?
Absolutely. These, when you save it, it's just a file, like any other file. So yes, you can move it from one company to another. You just have to keep in mind that if you're using, let's say, different if you're using different objects or images, you have to have those objects or images in the location. That's all. But it can be moved.
And I have another question. How many processes can we create?
You can create any number of processes that you want. As you saw, you can link from one process to another. So if you have a process already built, you don't need to recreate it. If you're adding a process, all you do is build a link to it, and then on that process, build a link back to the, let's say, the home page, if you want to call it that, and therefore you can move back and forth between processes. So the number of processes is many. You can add as many as you want. Okay, so if we don't have any further questions, again, what we normally do, for those of you who have not attended these sessions before, if you are in the location, or if you can come to our Burnaby location, what we normally do is, because our webinar is, you simply see and you don't get that experience, we, in order to empower you, we give you the opportunity to come and sit in the car and test drive it. So what we have is a session. We have laptops, and you can come and you can create and do these things with, we will help you through them, etc. Okay? So the next one will be at 9 a.m. on April the 26th, which is a Tuesday, usually a week from now. And you come and you get a great experience, and you learn something new, and you get to test drive it. So sign up, because it's laptops. You know, we only have so many laptops, and we have so many physical space. Okay. So what I'd like to do is thank you for joining the session. Again, it's part of our belief that we want to empower you to learn as much of the product as possible, right? So that you will use full advantage of it. So if you have any suggestions as to new topics, please don't hesitate to send us your inquiries or what you would like to see. And again, with that, have a good day. Talk to you later. Bye for now.